think you should. Yeah.
I think right now a lot of people really seem to like Orisa. They're starting to get a feel for her kit and what she's able to do. And I mean, the speculation right now is that she's going to be pretty good. I mean, it's too early to officially tell, but given the amount of stuff her kit has, it looks like she could be pretty good. With this said, I still think a lot of people are undervaluing Orisa. They're so focused on what she can do, only looking at her kit, that they're ignoring all of the possible synergies and actual practical applications she has on the battlefield, which is what we're going to be going over today. More of Orisa's hidden potential. We're going to start off with her shield that she places on the ground. Orisa's protective barrier does much more than just provide a Reinhardt shield. It's so much more versatile than that. Let's start off with the fact that it's actually a projectile. You can put it in places that aren't right in front of you, which means if you suspect a teammate will be in danger, you can put one near them, even if they're very far away. On top of this, they last forever until they're destroyed or you place a new one. So what you could do at the beginning of a round on defense, let's give Eichenwald as an example, you can place a protective barrier and then it'll be off cooldown and another one will be ready when the first one is destroyed, which means you effectively have an 1800 health shield at the beginning of the round. And that's just Orisa alone. Remember when I said people aren't thinking about possible synergies? Well, let's pair Orisa with Reinhardt and talk about that shield tactic I had, where you have basically two shields at the beginning of the round. If you place a shield at the beginning of a round on a map like Eichenwald or Hanamura, where there's a big choke point, or really any map where you're holding from a certain position, you give your Reinhardt a place to fall back to when his shield breaks, and allows his shield to actually recharge while yours is going down. And you'll probably have another one off cooldown, so you can effectively place two of your shields, allowing Reinhardt to get his full shield back up without him ever taking damage. So it would go in this order. They destroy Reinhardt's 2000 health shield, he falls back behind Orisa's first protective barrier. When that's destroyed, she places another one, which is now giving us about 4000 HP, and then by then Reinhardt's shield is almost guaranteed to be back up to full, which means he can push back forward, giving you 6000 hit points of shields, and if his shield lasts long enough, Orisa might have another protective barrier ready by that time. So you could potentially be having almost like 7,000 shields without any of your team ever taking damage, because you're alternating between these different types of shields. And if you pair this with someone like Zarya or D.Va with her defense matrix, you can lengthen this immeasurable amounts. You can seriously have shields on shields on shields, and when you have a squishy team behind those shields, it's going to be very helpful. You can put lots of DPS heroes behind them, and it could be pretty good. I think Orisa really synergizes well with DPSs, and I'll talk about that more later in the video. The next ability that I think people are undervaluing is Orisa's Fortify. It makes her immune to CC, so she can't get hooked, she can't get charged by Reinhardt or Earth Shattered or anything. Nothing can move her. She is a rock. Like, nothing can actually stop her. And on top of this, she takes 50% damage, which effectively means her health is about 800 for the time being. This, I think a lot of people are just looking at as a survival tool for Orisa, but we have to remember, Orisa isn't an off-tank. People are saying she's an off-tank. She's kind of more of a hybrid off-tank, main tank, if not a main tank. People very often think that you have to protect your teammates with shields, but the reality is good tank players know when to body block for their non-tank teammates, which means you can step in front of your team, fortify yourself, and just soak up a ton of damage for them. It doesn't need to be a shield. You don't need to place your protective barrier or have a Zarya bubble on you. Orisa can be used just to soak up the damage that would have gone to squish your targets, and Fortify is a great way of doing so because it halves the damage taken, which means enemies get half the ult charge for damaging her. So it's a pretty good idea to use. Halt is actually the next ability we're going to talk about, and I think a lot of people have already started to grasp what this thing can do. It's the one that she shoots with her alternate fire, and it's kind of like a mini graviton surge. It pulls people in towards it. Now, obviously, this can be used to pull people off maps and move them out of the way, maybe get a Reinhardt out of the way if he's shielding his team. However, this ability is far better used if you save it and use it with teammates' ultimates, much like a lot of abilities in Overwatch. However, this one works better than a lot of people seem to anticipate. A lot of videos I've seen and topics covering this seem to think that this ability isn't that great as far as comboing with ultimates go, simply because it only moves people in a very short distance for a short period of time. However, when you're using an ultimate that has a very low time to kill, like Reaper's Death Blossom or even Soldier 76 or many of the other DPS ultimates, all you need is a split second longer to kill people on the enemy team before they can get to cover, and this ability provides that greatly. I actually can't think of an ult in the game that isn't better when used with Orisa's Halt first. It'll just move enemies closer, and there's basically no point in time where you want enemies to be split up more. And this ability helps prevent that. So when you combine it with something, you can even use it to set up Graviton surges. It can help with that. It's great with Dragon Strike, Death Blossom. There's a lot of abilities this can be used with. So if you hear a teammate about to ult, just throw your Halt out and make it easier for your teammate to get these initial kills or initial damage. For someone like Genji, who has his Dragon Blade, this is going to be huge. If you get your first swipe off on 3 people instead of 1, you're going to be dealing a lot more damage. You're going to be able to basically get a team wipe with your Dragon Blade. So you have to keep that in mind when playing Orisa. As far as Supercharger goes, most people generally know how to use it. You place it down, you protect it with a shield or a Reinhardt or something, and your team will usually win the team fight. I mean, if you think about it, it's basically a nano boost on everyone minus the damage reduction. That's a lot of extra damage. And when you have someone like Orisa who already does a lot of damage, you have a Soldier, maybe a Bastion, this damage output is insane, and you'll usually win the fight unless the enemy team destroys it. So you should be protecting it because it can get hacked by Sombra, it can get destroyed, and the enemy team can try to deal with it. Hopefully this video was interesting to you all. If it was, be sure to leave a like down below and tell me what you think. And stay tuned for more Orisa content because she's really cool, and I still think we're barely scratching the surface as far as what we know about what she can do in game. I'll see you guys all later. Have a good one. Lone Hawk out.